Hi guys, it's Steph here from the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel, and this is another Books Beside My Bed video. This is for the week of the 3rd to the 9th of June. I read 5 books this week, a total of 1,518 pages, and my yearly reading total is up to 99 books. So close to 100! I'm so close to 100 books. It's taken me a little bit longer to get there this year because now I am full-time back in the classroom and it's really exhausting teaching all day, every day. But I'm so excited. My next book will be book 100. I'm gonna make it a good one. Maybe it'll be one of my rereads. Ooh, that's just giving me an idea. Okay, stay tuned for next week. I had a pretty decent reading week this week. I read a lot of books that I really enjoyed. They're not necessarily reflected in super high ratings for books, but just books that I actually enjoyed sitting down and reading, which is great because this week was really rough and I've been quite sick and just feeling very blah. Also, I got back into watching TV, which I haven't done in ages, so I know I'm exhausted when all I can do is sit in front of the TV. Okay, onto the books. The first book that I read this week was Shadows by Paula Weston. This was published in 2013 by Tundra Books and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. It is the first book in the Rephaim trilogy and it is about angels and I'm so excited. You guys know how much I love angel books and I loved this one. Angel books have a tendency to let me down, but this one did not. And what I really want is all of the books in this series right now, but I don't have any of the other ones, so I'm a bit sad. The story focuses on a character called Gabby Winters, who is living her life in a small surfing town. It's a year since her twin brother died, and she's sort of just going through the motions of life. When she goes to sleep at night, she dreams of hellbeasts and fighting, and it's quite bloody and gory, and she publishes a short story that she writes based off her dreams online, and then all of a sudden all of these people turn up in town suddenly interested in her, including a man named Rafa who tells her that he was best friends with her deceased brother and starts telling her all these things about her brother that she didn't even realize. And so there's this whole mystery surrounding who her brother really was and what actually happened to the both of them. It is a really great Lovers YA story. Highly recommend it. I need to find the next books in this series. Like it's a need now. Then I read The Grand Genius Summer of Henry Hubler by Lisa Shanahan. This is a middle grade book and it was published in 2017 by Alan Unwin, and this is one of the CBCA's 2018 Younger Readers shortlisted books, which is why I'm reading it. It is the 3rd shortlisted book that I've read, and it was quite cute and fun, and I think I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. It is the story of Henry, who is the middle child in his family, and his family has decided to go camping at a local camping ground with some family friends of theirs, and Henry is this very cautious child. He doesn't really know his place in his family at the moment, and he's also in the midst of trying to learn to ride a bike without training wheels, and so his father thinks that doing that on a camping trip with all of their family friends is the perfect idea to do that, and Henry just feels very overwhelmed by this. He also looks for the potential disasters in every situation, which I can relate, and camping is not something that I go into lightly. But while he's at the camping grounds, he meets a girl around his own age called Cassie, and she's quite fearless and brave and helps him to be fearless and brave and embrace new experiences. And the story is just beautiful. It's a very easy read. It's middle grade. It was just one of those stories that I felt good after reading. Then I reread my first book from the 3 Loved Rereads book tag that I did a while ago, and it was The Northern Lights by Phillip Pullman. This was originally published in 1995 by Scholastic. This edition was published in 2011. It has the gorgeous cover, which I love, and I've got this whole trilogy in this cover design. I also had the old ones. No, I had the movie edition ones. They're at home with mum and dad, and I bought myself the new shiny covers because I like these ones better. I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars on reread, and I absolutely loved it. I listened to the audio for it because Phillip Pullman narrates the audio, but it's also got almost a full cast of voice actors, and I absolutely loved it. And I've also downloaded the next 2 books in audio form as well, so I'm going to probably be picking those up reasonably soon because I love this story so much, and I knew that I'd loved it when I first read it. I was a bit cautious going into the reread because I thought I don't want to fall out of love with this story from just what I remember, but I didn't. I loved it even more. It is set in a world that's like ours but not quite. It's also set in the past, and the main character is Lyra, and she lives in a world where every human has a demon, and the demon is sort of a physical manifestation of the soul, and it takes the form of an animal. But when you're a child, this demon can change shape at will and become all sorts of different animals. But as you reach adulthood, it chooses a permanent state, and that sort of reflects your inner self, which I think is a really cool concept. I love that. Lyra has grown up in Oxford. She's grown up amongst scholars, and she's visited every now and then by her uncle Asriel. And he's an explorer and a traveller, and he's studying something called dust, which is a scientific phenomenon that is quite controversial in this world, because this world is ruled essentially by a church state. Doesn't matter which church it is, it's just a church state. So there is a religious element running through it, which is what I remember being so controversial about this book originally. However, I didn't find it to be controversial at all, because rather than look at the church in this book as a reflection of any church or religious order in our current world, I look at it as a commentary on the fact that you can have a group of people, like a church group, who have a set of ideals that they want to dictate strongly to other people and force other people to believe. Yes, there are groups in this world, in our world, that do that, but I'm taking it to be it's more a commentary on the fact that we let these groups have as much power as we want them to. I find it really interesting from a discussion perspective about how we choose to let a group of people impose their ideals on others, and whether or not we have the ability to stand up to them. Anyway, that's beside the point. Lyra finds herself going on an adventure. She's always wanted to go on an adventure to the north with her uncle, but now she has a cause to go, because children from her world have been kidnapped and have gone missing, and people don't know where they've gone. And she fears that it has something to do with the dust that her uncle was studying. And she has these fears that a woman who she was apprenticed to, Mrs. Coulter, is the woman behind these children going missing, because Mrs. Coulter also appears to be studying dust, but she doesn't think it's in a positive way. This has magic, it has witches, it has the Northern Lights, it has magical compasses and talking bears, and it is truly amazing. Read the book, don't watch the movie. And if you can, listen to the audiobook. I will be continuing this series very, very soon, because I love it so much. Then I read another book from the CBCA Younger Readers shortlist for this year, and that is Marsh and Me by Martine Murray. I am planning on doing a planner layout with this in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that, because I love this cover. It is just gorgeous. This was published in 2017 by Text Publishing, and it is the story of Joey Green, who is a young boy who wants to stand out, but he doesn't really. He's sort of just in the background of his school and his family life. He likes to play guitar, but it's only when no one else is listening. He's quite, timid in that way. What he does like to do is go for walks in his local area, and at the top of one of the hills in his local area, which is his place, he's spent his whole childhood there, and it's his place to go and play the guitar or just be with his thoughts. He suddenly meets a girl who has built a cubby house in the trees of his hill. They strike up an unlikely friendship in which they begin to learn a little bit about each other. The girl doesn't tell him her name, so he calls her Marsh. He begins to suspect that something is not quite right with Marsh and her home life. It's the story of their friendship and how they begin to trust one another and open up to one another, and how friendship can sometimes overcome all sorts of differences. And it was a really beautiful story, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The last book that I read this week was Dividing Eden by Joelle Charbonneau, and this is the first book in the Eden, I think it's a duology, and I think the second book is coming out at the end of this month, so I'm actually going to pick up the second book. I was a little bit apprehensive going into this, because you guys know my feelings on fantasy books at the moment, and this is a young adult fantasy series. This was published last year in 2017 by Harper Teen, and it is the story of 2 twins, Karis and Andreas, who are the younger siblings in a royal family, the rulers of Eden. And Eden is a town that is surrounded by a wall. They live by a set of virtues. I'm sensing some religious parallels to Eden. But anyway, Eden is surrounded sort of by woods, and they're quite dark, and there are some scary, creatures that live out there that like to hunt people. And basically this town survives because the royal family keeps the lights on, and the lights stay on in the town because they have 7 massive windmills that generate power. And that's sort of a subplot in this book, and I suspect that in the second book it's probably going to play a little bit of a stronger part of the story, which is why I want to keep reading because I want to see what happens. But the twins were never destined to rule Eden, and due to a lot of political intrigue and a war and a whole lot of things going on, the king and the crown prince are killed. The queen goes mad, and so it's left to Karis and Andreas to take the throne, except in Eden only one of them can take the throne, and because there is no clear line of succession, because no one reliable is left to say who was the elder twin, there is a conflict of who is actually eligible for the throne, and so they begin a series of trials. And where the twins were previously quite close, the trials bring out almost the worst qualities of themselves as they try to determine who is going to be suitable for the throne. There are a lot of things that I didn't quite like in here, but there are also a lot of things that I really did. I liked how cutthroat it was and how nasty it gets, which I don't know what that says about me, but I liked that element of it because you don't often get that in YA fantasy because it's always people trying to be polite. But there was a lot of nastiness that went on in this. There are a lot of characters that I find really intriguing that were side characters and that we sort of get hints that perhaps they're not what they seem, and I want to find out who they are. There are a lot of plot twists that I didn't see coming. Some of the things that I didn't like necessarily the relationship between the twins and the sudden shift in their relationship. And I suppose you could say that it was always bubbling underneath that they were destined to fall out with one another, but I think it happened really suddenly, and that sort of just was quite jarring as a reader. And there's also a little bit of dismissiveness of women, but again, that's probably a cultural thing that was designed in the book, but just be aware of that going into it. That also was just a little bit odd. But overall, I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. I do want to continue reading the sequel. I actually really enjoyed this more than I thought I would, which was such a pleasant surprise, and I ended my reading week well, so yay. So those are the books that I read this week, and I'm pretty chuffed with that, I have to say. In the comments below, please let me know what you have been reading this week. Have you read any of these books, and if so, what were your thoughts on them? Did you enjoy them? Did you not enjoy them? Let's have a discussion. I'm particularly interested in people who have read Dividing Eden. I would really like to have a chat about that. Or if you like the Northern Lights, come and talk to me about it, because I adore that series, and now I have to go and read the next 2 books because yay. There goes my June TBR because I'm going to be replacing it with things that I really want to read. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're having a wonderful day, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.